Okay, we're live. All right, welcome to the Anonymity Podcast. Before we get to the podcast, there are a couple things I need to touch on. This is someone's story, not everyone's story, meaning that there's many paths to recovery. There's not just one right way. This is just a way somebody found to get themselves off of drugs and alcohol. The reason I say that is because I just don't want you to hear this and think you have to do what this person did in order to get recovered from drugs and alcohol. There's a lot of different ways that I've listened to doing this podcast that have worked for others. What we talk about are our opinions on these things. There's really, there are right or wrong ways to do things, of course, but this is the opinion of me and my guest. It doesn't mean it's got necessarily fact. It's just what we found that worked for us. I'm not a spokesperson for any 12-step program. I'm just a person in recovery sharing the message. Let's see. In keeping with the 12-step program's traditions, the interviewee will either remain anonymous or keep the program they're involved in anonymous. My guest today has decided to keep the program they're in anonymous and use their full name. Let's see. I'm open to any way of recovery on this podcast. You know, my specific story involves the 12 steps. And so, you know, a lot of what I talk about is involved that way. But I like to use this platform for anything recovery related. Real quick, just some business stuff. I just wanted to do a quick thank you to a couple guys who, without this, you know, this is the 20th episode. And so I'm pretty pumped on that. I never, you know, I actually thought of this idea a couple years ago. And, you know, it took me a real long time to kind of put it together. And I just want to say thanks to Blair, Adam, Jordan. You know, without those three guys, this podcast definitely wouldn't have happened. You know, they really helped me figure out how to do this. And, you know, and just everyone who's been super helpful. You know, my girlfriend is always, you know, I always make her leave the house when we do these because she's so loud. If you want evidence of that, you can go listen to the episode with Kit and you can hear her doing dishes in the background. So just thanks to everyone who's you know, supported me and been helpful, and all the guests, of course. You know, this wouldn't even be anywhere without you guys. It's been super awesome getting to talk to all of you, and you know, I'm just grateful that I get to do this, and I can't wait to keep doing it. So with that, we are gonna go on to the podcast. Wake it, shake it, Davy, bum, ba, bum. Shotgun dead on the Anonymity Podcast. Bum, bum, bum. That I actually chose because Dave used to do I can't remember if it was at the talent show or you do karaoke. And that was the only song I'd ever sing when you do it. So that was a little connection between you and me. So that's why that was special for me to sing that song to you.
Okay.
Well, my guest today is Dave Wilbur. How are you, Dave?
Hello. I'm great, actually. And it was both. I'm in a band. I'm a professional musician, as you know, but your listeners wouldn't. And so my bandmates and I have a karaoke band. It's called, where we play music, but people come sing with us. And we're getting ready to do it in a couple of weeks again for my 12-step fellowship. They come in and play like a charity concert where everybody all the people in recovery get to jump up and sing with the band. It's a lot of fun, and they don't charge because they're happy that their bass player is sober nowadays. So I think they're just grateful that I'm who I am and I'm alive. So they come and they do it for free for our local 12-step fellowship. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, it is. Yeah, it's cool. Even as a karaoke experience, how often do you get to sing in front of a professional band? You know, as terribly as I do it, it was still really fun to do. You get to kind of live out that experience a little bit.
For 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. That's terrible. I'm a rock star at rock bottom, when those guys are hitting hard and forgetting lyrics and singing off key. So I know what it's like to be a rock star at rock bottom. But so Dave,
That
I'm excited to talk to you because I've heard bits and pieces of your story, but I don't know it completely. So I'm excited to hear it in its entirety. Where does Dave come into existence?
Well, I'll just go really slow and tell you all the details of my long life.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I got a cup of
I
coffee.
was born on a cold night. No, it wasn't. I was born a long time ago, 50 years ago. I just picked up my 50th year on the planet.
Oh, congratulations.
About a month ago. Oh, thanks. I was born in a little town in Arizona. And when I say a little town, it was a teeny little town. There were 72 people in our graduating class. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very small town. But it was great. I got to be part of everything in our school because you had to do everything. There wasn't, we had a drama club and a marching band and a football team, and I got to be in all three at the exact same time, which was fun.
Yeah, I did. I was actually very similar. I grew up in a little town in Wyoming, and you had to do everything. If you wanted to have a social life, it was through the extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
So that's
well, it was that or drinking. I had the chance to go. A lot of my friends were, hey, we're bored, let's go get drunk. And I was a good little Mormon kid at the time, and I didn't ever probably the healthier pursuits of of doing football and wrestling and drama club. And I took up music when I was 15. I started playing the bass, which I fell in love with.
Yeah. And what was your family life like?
It was great, actually. I know a lot of people in recovery have some. Can I cuss?
Oh yeah.
Are we allowed to?
Yeah, we got a hard, explicit stamp on this podcast.
Okay, they had some shitty childhoods, and I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to take anything away from their experience, but mine was pretty good. I mean, my parents were great parents. They imbued all their kids best they could with a sense of self-esteem and worth, and certainly a sense of love.
Yeah,
everybody can say. So that was, I loved my parents. My dad just passed away just about 2.5 years ago, and that was one of the things, man. I always said, if my dad ever dies, I'm going to drink myself to death. And you know what? I didn't get drunk over it.
That's so cool. That's cool. Yeah. Did you have brothers and sisters, or?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 6 kids.
Oh, wow.
Not quite 2, I think. My oldest sister, she was 17.
Oh, and, okay.
She died in a car wreck.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, it was
at 17.
At 17, yeah.
Oh, so you didn't really have any. You didn't know her very well.
No, I didn't. Well, I mean, for a 20-month-old,
yeah.
She died in, I think, June, and my birthday was in August, so I was 20 months or so.
Yeah. Did that affect I actually just talked to somebody else, the last guy on the podcast. He had an older sibling pass away. And I asked him the same question. Do you think that affected how your parents treated you?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. I think well, I mean, I don't know that I'm going to be all that funny today, but I'm a pretty funny person. I'm an entertainer. That's my job.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that came from the fact that I was just gifted with musical talent, but I also found it kind of codependently my job to make people laugh in my family. It was like, oh, they're all sad. Let me see if I can make them laugh.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I think it's interesting when you have people, because I think of myself as kind of a funny guy too. And mine, I think, yeah, right. I know it doesn't come across, but I think of it as a coping mechanism for me. It's one of those things, the gallows humor, like when everything was so bad, I just tried to make it as best I can. And I don't know. I always find it interesting how people who I think are funny, how they develop that sense of humor and the reasons for it. It's usually a pretty sad reason, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my story. Absolutely. I was trying to, bring a little sunshine. But it's actually worked out pretty well for me.
Yeah.
That's because I don't know. I like bringing, whenever I can, bringing peace to people and bringing happiness, honestly. And you can make people smile and laugh and dance. So I mean, my career is pretty awesome because I get to be funny over the mic as I'm talking to the crowd, and then I get to make music to make them dance.
Yeah.
So, and then the other part of my career is that I get to teach people how to be musicians, and so that's really rewarding too.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm happy with where I am. Of course, rewind by 8 years ago, and I wouldn't have said that at all.
Yeah. Well, so when you were growing up in that small town, you said you picked up a bass. When you picked up that guitar, did you think this is for me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being just little kids, and my brother and I were playing G.I. Joes, I think, on the floor, and we were talking about what we wanted to do. But he said something like a cowboy. I don't remember. But he asked me, and I said, "Oh, I either want to be an astronaut." I don't know how old that is. What, 8? Maybe when you're playing G.I. Joes. But
Yeah.
so that was way before. But as soon as I put that bass in my hands, man, I was.
Yeah. Did you? And you said you didn't drink at all in high school?
No.
Really?
Hell, I didn't even masturbate till I was 21 and a half.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
You
I
didn't
was
even
a good little
figure it
Mormon
out,
kid, man.
but you didn't even figure it out on your own? I think.
It's a really funny story, and you can always edit this out later if you want. But me and my friend Aaron, talking to this kid, got busted on the school bus, masturbating. And,
Oh, Jesus.
well, there are like 6 people in the entire school anyway. But so Aaron and I were talking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe this other guy was caught masturbating. And Aaron says, yeah, I mean, everybody does it. It's just nobody talks about it. And I said, well, I don't do it. And he said, why don't you do that? And I said, I don't know. I didn't know you could. He said, well, you could start. And I said, well, okay, but I don't even know how. And right at that very moment, there was a dog humping a pillow, like his little poodle dog was humping a pillow. And he said, there you go, dude. That's it. And so I literally went home and humped the pillow. And I don't know about you, but that wasn't enough to get me there. So I was like, after 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, this sucks. I mean, it's kind of fun, but then I don't see the point of all this. So I never tried again.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was just
I thought
blue balls and wet dreams for me for the next few years.
I thought I invented it. I thought I was the first person to ever masturbate. I truly did. Because no one told me about it. I just kind of figured it out on my own. And I was like, why the fuck? Like, what is going on? I thought I invented it. So
you had a new hobby. But once I took it up, I will say this. Once I took up the hobby, I made up for lost time.
Yeah. So when did you start drinking then?
Well, so I was raised, as I said, a Mormon kid. So as part of the LDS faith, they don't, well, it's actually forbidden if you want to be faithful to the faith that you don't drink alcohol, you don't smoke, you don't have sex, you don't do any of these things. So I just didn't. I was, I thought that God would be mad at me if I did those things.
Right.
So I just didn't. And I went on an LDS mission when I was 19 for 2 years.
Where'd you go?
I went to Venezuela, Spanish speaking, South America. The tip of it's like the northernmost part of South America. Lovely country, wonderful people. I still love Latin people. I love the language of Spanish. I don't get to speak it as often as I could. But it's just a great language.
Well, that's it. My little brother, he went on an LDS mission. He went to Chile, and he lives in Colombia right now. Him and his wife moved back to Colombia I think they've been there for almost a year. But he's the same way. Loves it. He just loves the South American vibe, I guess.
I
But
mean,
so,
I hate to stereotype, but there's a very laissez-faire, it's kind of recovery almost, because it's a lot of acceptance. It's like, oh, things are the way that they are. I mean, you can of course take that too far,
mhm.
but we'll get there when we get there, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's
if you can get used to it, it's awesome. If you can get used to it, that trick is getting used to it.
yeah. Well, that's his wife talks about it. She writes a blog, and she always talks about how the you never know if people are going to be there, or, meetings running over, or, everything starts late, kind of like, it's just kind of. But so you went on your mission, and did you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I loved it. I was a full believing member of the faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is clear to anybody who's listening. This is just my experience. I'm not trying to criticize the LDS faith.
Yeah.
People, but it didn't. It stopped working for me. Actually, what happened was I was teaching as a missionary, and I ran into this guy, and we started talking, and he described my conversion story to me before I could tell him about my conversion. I was gonna say, I know I'm right, and here's why, because I asked God and I felt this and that.
Mm-hmm.
The guy described that exact same thing to me before I could tell him, and I thought, well, what the hell? How's that work? But so by the time I got back home, about a year and I don't know, a year and a few months later, I just started thinking. I thought, I don't know. I'm going to start questioning all this, which I did.
Uh-huh.
And eventually, I decided. I actually went to what they call the temple. It's like a church, but on steroids. But it's just a really yes person. And I went into the temple and I said, "Okay, God, look, my brain that you gave me has figured out that you're not there, and that this church isn't true. So I'm out of here. So thanks, but if you're going to punish me for using the brain that you gave me, I guess you can do that. But I'm done." And but it left a real vacant spot in my soul. What I didn't realize then is that you can have a God in your life that is independent of religion.
Yeah.
God and the LDS Church were exactly the same thing, and if I didn't have the one, I didn't have the other.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, that's my experience as well. When you say, you talk about how your brain that God gave you didn't believe in him, what led you to that not believing in God?
Well, the first real big armor was I had gone to like Sunday school or something, and they were talking about how when the Israelites were walking around in the desert for 40 years, they didn't have food to eat. So God sent them food from heaven called manna. And I was like, that's awesome, right? But that very night, I was looking at National Geographic, which I still have a subscription for to this day. I saw this cover where there's this kid from, I think, Ethiopia, big brown eyes, and devastation behind him. It was like a moonscape. It was so dry,
Mm-hmm.
emaciated body, and then there's the big brown eyes with one solid tear in the corner of his eye. And it just occurred to me that, wait a second, why would God send food to some of his kids and not to others?
Yeah.
Bullshit is that? So either God is a racist because this kid was brown, or he doesn't love all of his kids.
Right.
Or the thought it came, or wait, maybe there's no God there to send them food. Maybe that's just a myth perpetuated over the years that people have come to believe. I have a different take on that nowadays, which I'll be happy to explain later if you want, or I can do
right. Yeah, we can get to it.
Okay. But anyway, that was the first. I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. I was like, wait a second. And so I started thinking about things. Why do I assume that the Bible story about manna is true? Why do I assume that? Well, because I assume the Bible's true. Well, why do I assume the Bible's true? And I just kept rewinding. And eventually I was like, turns out I don't know anything.
Yeah. So you come to these conclusions. You have this, I always call it a God hole. because I
Yeah.
like how dirty it sounds. But you have this empty God hole, and
Yeah.
so where does your life go from there?
Well, I was still going to the LDS university called BYU in
Mhm.
Utah, which is where I still live, and that's where we got to know each other.
Right.
And so I was immediately ostracized by almost everybody I knew as soon as because I'm me, I'm gonna yap about it, and I'm just like fucking blah blah. I left. You guys are all chums for sticking around, which I regret doing now. And so I understand why they would ostracize me. This isn't a very important thing to them, their faith, and I'm all of a sudden telling them they're wrong, But
Yeah.
So I was, I felt distanced from everybody, and honestly, I felt that God hole. That's a great phrase for it. I always think of Iron Man. You know how he has that big gaping hole in his chest.
Yeah.
For me, and so all of a sudden I'm walking around with this big empty space.
Yeah.
I had never had sex before. I fooled around plenty. I tried to follow the LDS dictum of be moral, do oral.
Man, I love rhymes.
Of course, that's not what they believe. They believe you should be completely chaste, not any kind of fooling around. But there are lots of, being teenagers with hormones, and people take their exceptions, and so.
Right.
But
right.
I'd never done that, and all of a sudden in December of '89, I found myself fooling around with this gal. She was just back home from a LDS mission. I didn't think anything was going to happen because she was just, she was obeying the rules of chastity, I thought. And all of a sudden, next thing I know, get too graphic, but she plops down on it, and I was like, oh, what are you doing? What do you mean? What am I doing? This before. Oh well, enjoy. And I did enjoy it, Ty. I enjoyed it for about 4.5 seconds, and then it was all over. But I tell you what, for when that moment hit, and I was literally fused with another person, went away.
Yeah.
I felt connected. I felt bonded. I felt okay with myself.
Right.
And here's something interesting. So just about a week before, I was doing the fooling around thing with this lady, a gal that I've been dating, and she said, I think we should actually just have sex. Enough of this silliness. And I said, I don't love you. I mean, I could maybe, but I don't love you now. And I want the first person I actually have sex with that I'm in love with. And she said, oh, well, okay. Anyway, a week later, I'm making out with this other lady, and all of a sudden we have sex. So the next night after this gal and I have sex, I called her up and said, hey, I'd like to do that again, please. And we met, and she said, I'm sorry, Dave, but I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. So we're not going to do that again.
Oh.
Immediately, once I got a taste of something that made me feel okay.
Oh, hey, Dave, your microphone's getting quiet.
Oh, is it really? Maybe does that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Where should I pick up from somewhere?
Just you said once you'd gotten a taste for something that filled that hole, you were on moving.
Oh well, as soon as I got that taken care of, which through sex, I just immediately said, oh well, okay, I don't care what I have to do to get this again. And I lied to the original gal who said, hey, let's have sex. And I said, I don't love you. I called her and I said, hey, I've changed my mind. I love you. Would you please teach me about sex? Which she did and was very kind about it. But I think that's telling about how I'm willing to lie and do whatever I have to do to get that drug, which is, in that case, sex,
Right. Anything to fill that void.
Absolutely. About 3 weeks after that, it was New Year's coming into 1990. And I saw people drinking on New Year's Eve down in Arizona, my hometown,
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, they're having a good time. They're not getting drunk. They're being responsible about it. I think I'd like to try that sometime. About 2 weeks after that, I had some old roommates coming up into town, and I called them. They called as they were about an hour out of Provo, which is where I was going to school. And I said, hey, you guys on your ski trip, you may not want to stay here. My roommate drinks. And I know a lot of people will feel uncomfortable with that. And they said, no worries, dude. We're what the LDS people call inactive. We're inactive. Let's go get some beer. And I thought, this is a safe environment. Maybe I'll try it. I'll just try it once. And we did. And we went and got some beer, and it was a whole lot of fun.
At the time, could you buy beer in Provo?
Oh yeah, you couldn't buy it on Sundays.
Right. Oh, that's what it is. Sundays and after it used to be after 11, right?
I'm not sure actually, because I always got it early.
Yeah, right. But so you had no problem tracking down beer.
Oh no, we drove 2 blocks and went to a convenience store, and we got, I don't know, a 24 pack, maybe 2 12. I don't know how much you got. We started drinking, and we were playing quarters, and I would make a quarter, and instead of assigning somebody else to drink, I would take the drink myself. And they're like, Dave, that's not really how it works, dude. And I'm like, I don't care. I want more.
Yeah.
In that first night, I drank 9 beers.
Whoa.
So.
Did you get sick?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Well, I didn't throw up, but I was sure hungover the next morning. Matter of fact, I'll never forget it. I remember feeling okay for the first time in months. And I was watching a Janet Jackson video on VH1. It was, oh, excavate, baby. And the TV was swaying back and forth. And hey, my roommates, I didn't feel awkward in front of them anymore. I was dancing. Hell, I even started talking about God again.
Yeah.
So I felt okay. And I was like, and I remember they all passed out and I was still up, and I went around, drank all their drinks. And I remember thinking, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do this until I'm forced to quit.
Yeah. So did you liked it better than sex even?
Yeah. The only thing that would have made it better would have been if I could combine the two, which I did that for the next 18 years.
Right. So
at least I tried to.
So did you fall through with that? Did you just start drinking all the time?
Well, yeah, I woke up the next morning feeling like just complete ass. Oh God, somebody kill me. Where's the liquor store?
Oh.
Yeah, I drank that night, and I pretty much drank straight through. My roommate that I was living with, he was like, dude, do you think beer is good? We should go get some wild turkey, which we did. So now it was wild turkey and beer. Yeah. And that was it. January 1990, and I ran hard for 5 years.
And you were still in college?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you end up graduating, or?
I did not. I was until actually right now. I try nowadays to try to live by what I call the God thought. God giving advice to its children down here, and I got this nudge from the universe saying, why don't you go back to school?
Yeah.
Oh shit, really? But I'm afraid. And my 12-step program teaches us to write out our fears and face them, give them over, and which I did. And the next thing you know, I started going to school. So I'm only now 3 credit hours away from graduating for the bachelor's degree in Spanish, which I started back in 1989.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So did you like fail out of college because of drinking, or how did that go?
Yeah, yes, I did.
Yeah,
I was looking at my transcripts. It was like, B+ average. All of a sudden, boom, D.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
kind of hard to drink and go to school at the same time.
Well, especially on a dry campus.
Yeah, that's right.
So how did that work out with the drinking and being on a BYU campus? Did you just, kind of keep it separate?
Yeah, I tried to hide it as best I could, got the right roommates and stuff. So.
Yeah. And so then once you failed out of college, where did it go?
Well, I moved to just a town south of the town I was living, Springville, working as a musician already, and teaching lessons and doing gigs, and I could drink at the gig, which was awesome, right? So it was like, this is the guy, and sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? But for me, it was sex, booze, and rock and roll. And when you're in a band, and I was in a pretty popular band, women tend to like that, and so I was I was drinking and getting laid all the time, playing rock and roll, and it was a I could I guess I could call that the lost years because I lived in a shitty apartment and I
Mhm.
didn't care. We had it was bachelor days and it was fun for a long time and there were no negative consequences.
Yeah, and you just drink and play music all day, huh?
Yeah, and when I say there were, I said that and I thought, well, there are plenty of negative consequences actually. Quitting school is a negative consequence.
Right.
Having the cops come to the apartment, that's a negative consequence.
Hangovers. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Losing gigs. I lost gigs. I kicked out of bands, so I wouldn't show up on time because I was drinking.
Yeah. So were you in, like, when you say you were in bands that got big, I mean, were they like, how big?
Oh, not nationally, but a band that won the Best of Utah best band in Utah contest. And I guess I had some scouting done for, this is back in early 1990s, so there were a lot of butt rock bands, hair rock, like the Poison kind of bands.
Yeah.
And I guess I had somebody scout me for one of those bands that I didn't know about it until later.
Hmm.
And they were like, that guy drinks way too much. We can't bring him on tour.
Right.
So, yeah, a friend of mine told me, oh, yeah, there was a scout in town. I didn't even know they had those.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that until just right now. I thought all
Well,
bands just kind of were happenstance.
yeah. Well, there's also what they call freelance playing, right? So I was in a band, but then I was also a good enough bassist where if all of a sudden, if you have a band and your bassist gets sick, I could just plop in and fill in for that person without missing a beat.
Right.
And that's a valuable skill to have. So they thought, they never told me what band it was, but it was legit. For as much research as I did into it, there was, the guy had come into town. I don't remember what it was for. What they didn't ever tell me what band, but they told me the record label, but I can't remember that now.
Yeah. So you were playing in these bands and just drinking up a storm. I mean, did that go on indefinitely, or what did that look like for you? I mean, did it slowly start spiraling down, or how did that come about? The negative consequences, I guess, is what I'm interested in.
Well, my dad got diagnosed with cancer in March or so of 2000. I'm sorry, 2000.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, if my parents aren't on the planet, I am just going to drink myself to death.
Right.
So let's start. And I had a chance to go actually on a USO tour to Turkey and stuff. And I was so upset about my dad, and I had so much drinking to do that I didn't go on that tour, and that would have opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
But so finally, by that summer, my friends took me on a hiking trip up to the Uinta Mountains, which are like the highest mountains in Utah. And it was basically like an intervention. I don't know that they intended it to be an intervention, but once we were up in the mountains, they're like, Dave, dude, you got to stop drinking.
Yeah.
You're killing yourself. You're ruining your career. You're ruining your relationships. We love you. We're your friends. Come on. They were actually my Dungeons and Dragons buddies.
Oh, really?
Every Sunday night we'd get together and play D&D at my buddy's bachelor pad.
Really? I got a guy out here who
That was a hell of a
there's this guy out here who keeps trying to get me to go play D&D. And I'm not sure yet. I want to try it, but I just don't know.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I just played a couple of years ago. Sober now, I do wacky things, but back then, it was pretty cool. I wouldn't drink during D&D for some reason.
Yeah.
I would stay sober.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd get trashed as soon as I got home, of course.
Right.
Much a bar person drinking. I'm going to drink, got my bottle, got my beer. I'm going to put myself to sleep every night with how much ever I could drink.
Right. Yeah, me too. I didn't much care for bars either. It was just too much, and it got in the way of drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and you had to pay way too much, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Did you, when you talk about freelance bassist and all that, was it pretty good paying?
Well, back then, good pay is relative, right?
Right. But it was good enough to support your drinking habit and let you own
absolutely.
And only be a bassist. Like, that was it.
Well, I was either teaching guitar lessons, guitar and bass lessons.
Uh-huh.
I'm a pretty good guitarist too. But close. You know what? I guess I am pro level in my rhythm guitar chops. I'm not a lead guitarist. But as a bassist, there aren't a lot of bass players. You know, every band has a bassist, but there are 7 and very few bassists. So I just thought I found that was my niche. You know, so I started exploiting it. And there was always demand for either my band itself or for me to do freelance stuff. Yeah. So, and it was enough to pay the bills and then teach. I had a ton of students too.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
And you don't wake up, you don't start teaching till the kids are out of school, which is like 3 p.m, which is plenty of time to get over your hangover.
Right. Would you ever drink and teach?
No, I never did. I tried drinking in the morning when I was very early on in the early 90s. Now I know it to be what my 12-step program calls an allergy to alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that as soon as I have one, man, it triggers the goddamn landslide, and I'm going to have an infinity. I won't stop.
Right.
So, but I realized that I thought, man, if I have one, I can't drink in the morning like some people would have the hair of the dog. I can't do that.
Yeah. So
I would always, but it wasn't too bad. If I got bad news, I would just say, oh, that's okay. I'll deal with it in a few hours when I'm drunk.
Yeah. So you were teaching bass and going on these excursions, and then you said you found yourself in the Uintas with your buddies, and they were intervening on you. What happened from there?
They said, you got to get this under control, dude, and we love you, and you're destroying really pretty much everything. And I said, okay, I can quit. I have no problem. I'll quit. No, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
And the remarkable thing was, I did. I came home from that trip and I said, I'm not going to drink for 1 month and I'll show these bastards, which I did. I didn't drink. And you know what I would do? I would get home from work or from a gig and I would not drink.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Dave, what are you going to do tonight? I'm going to not drink.
Would you just sit stewing about how you weren't drinking?
Absolutely, I would. I would literally sit there with my knuckles gripping the edge of the chair saying, okay, I'll show those fuckers I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
Goddamn. So, yeah. And then once that month was up, though, look out.
Yeah.
That was, but I proved to myself I could control it if I wanted.
Right.
But the problem is, once that month was up, boom, I was right back to it, and probably a little worse.
Yeah.
And the bad thing about that experiment was that I had this lie now that said, see, if we really wanted to, I could quit.
Right.
I just don't want to quit.
Right.
I just don't want to.
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm sure you told yourself that too, right?
Oh yeah, hundreds of times. Yep. Because you do. You can quit sometimes. It talks about it in one of the books. Early on, maybe before full alcoholism or whatever takes hold, you probably could have stopped.
Right.
And that's, I think early on I wasn't. I hear a lot of people say that they say, oh, my first drink and I was an alcoholic. Well, I don't believe that. It took me a while to get to that point where I really feel like I was an alcoholic. And there probably was earlier on times when I could have stopped and not been an alcoholic, but it didn't work out that way.
Yeah. Well, I think there's the problem is that at the beginning, huge consequences, right?
Yeah.
There's no, why would I want to stop? This is the best thing ever. The hole in my heart is gone. So why would you please explain why I would want to stop?
Well, it's that
you're losing gigs, Dave. But fuck those gigs. I don't care.
Right?
I've got my booze. You do not understand how awesome this is.
Yeah. Well, and being into that rock and roll lifestyle, you probably thought that was just part of the deal, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, I party hard. I'm going to lose some gigs. I'm sure if you look up to, I don't know what your rock and roll idols are, but I'm sure they've had their go with addictions and that sort of thing. And so it's probably pretty easy to be like, no, this is what happens.
Yeah. Well, one of my idols was the guy from Van Halen. His name's Michael Anthony.
Uh-huh.
And if you know Van Halen at all, you'll know that he has a Jack Daniels bass. I mean, the thing's shaped like Jack Daniels, right?
Really?
And I had a poster in my room of Jimmy Page, the guy from Led Zeppelin, guitarist. And it's a pretty famous picture, black and white. He's just got this bottle of Jack pouring down his throat,
Yeah.
It's completely vertical.
Right.
He's pouring it down his mouth. To me, that's what you do. You want to be a great musician. My heroes on the bass all did that, as far as I knew.
Yeah.
Jaco Pastorius is one of my biggest influences. He's the Jimi Hendrix of the bass, really, and he died of manic depression. He got killed in a bar fight because he was on a manic episode, and they beat him to death. But before that, he'd had his run-ins with substance abuse, and I'm sure it didn't help his mental situation. But that's what I'm supposed to do, right?
Well, yeah, rock and roll's weird like that, because even hearing that story, I think, man, what a badass. He got beat to death in a bar fight. Like, that's rock and roll. You look at that and you think, fuck yeah, that makes sense. It's one of those things. Like, it doesn't seem tragic. It seems like, no, that makes sense. He's in rock and roll. Like
better
that.
To burn out than fade away, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's an interesting thing with rock and roll and addictions and that sort of thing. It's almost expected.
Yep. Well, that's part of the problem, I think, too. We have just recently, in the last, since I've gotten sober, a lot of celebrities, musicians particularly, have died. There was Michael Jackson when I was about not quite a year sober. There was Whitney Houston a couple of years after that. There was Prince not too long ago, just this year.
Yeah.
And there was a guy from Stone Temple Pilots, etc. There are all these deaths of people in rock music, but you think about it, a lot of us need to hit bottom. We need some negative consequences. We need that bottom to smack us in the ass. And they're so rich that they can hire people to go buy their weed or their heroin or their booze or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if somebody gets arrested, it's the person in the entourage that got busted for the heroin possession, not Michael Jackson.
Right.
Whatever,
Well, and that's what I always say when somebody asks me, why did I quit? I almost had to quit because I didn't have any money. I just had run myself into a spot where I was sleeping in an office building. I didn't have work. I didn't have, money to go buy drugs or alcohol. And those guys always have money. I read that Nikki Sixx Heroin Diaries. And it was it opened my eyes to the struggle of guys in rock and roll, because he would say like, oh, I'd go on these heroin binges for 2 weeks and be locked in my house and forget I had $100,000 check in the mailbox, and it just would blow my mind that, the access they had to money and drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not even in that realm, and it was still enough money.
You are to me, Dave.
But I did have, there's something about being in a band that buys you, especially if it's a good band and especially if you're a good player. And I'm not bragging, but I'm a charismatic person. And so I could just tell people, hey, what'd be awesome? Why I would love to go and party, guys. Yeah, come party with us. I can't because I'm at my house. Well, you know what? Hey, dude, we drive a tow truck, man. We'll come pick you up. So they would literally tow my car. I said, well, I can get there without drinking and driving, but once I get to the bar, man, we'll tow you home. Oh, okay. So it's this weird enabling. I had friends that I could call and say, hey, look, I'm too drunk to drive. Would you go to the liquor store with me or take me? Oh, sure. No problem. Groupies, a lot of times, the females that would float around the bands and the little cult of personality I'd built up for myself, Oh, sure, Dave. Well, just completely enabling you. And I'm not even thinking twice about it.
And would you get a lot of free alcohol?
Oh, yeah, dude. Right before I saw a picture of me playing at the bar where that karaoke band was playing right before I got sober.
Uh-huh.
There I am, and I was standing basically right next to a wall. It was a teeny little Lake City, which was a great bar. But the stage space wasn't all that big. So it was, I don't know, maybe a foot taller than my head. So it was, 2 feet tall. But, and I looked the other day and I had gigantic glasses of beer, and just in the picture, I had, I think, 7 shot glasses lined up behind me. You know?
Oh, wow.
And those are the ones that either people bought for me when I was on break or that I had used to start off the night. But then a lot of times I'd say, hey, this next song's rock and roll. Who's going to buy me a shot? And next thing I know, 4 people are throwing, bringing up shots and just give them to me. I drink them I can play bass one-handed,
Really?
missing on the song. And that's one reason I learned. so I could drink with one hand and play with the other,
That's so cool. I mean, what? So you started doing this band. So I mean, it seems like you said, how do you get to a rock bottom when those things are happening?
Well, so in '97, I started to realize that I needed to make a change. So I moved out of my apartment that we called lovingly the Squalor, and moved to that bachelor pad where we would play Dungeons and Dragons. And I thought, I'll change. By moving, I'm going to have a new start. My roommates don't drink. I mean, they're casual drinkers at best, so I'll move, and then that'll solve everything. And it didn't, of course, But I did meet 2 women that year that made my attitude towards recovery started to open my eyes. One was a woman named Michelle, that everybody called her Midge, and she said she had this friend who had done recovery through the same fellowship that I'm in now, even though he was a cocaine addict and it's more geared towards alcohol. But this guy had found recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, shit, I like that. Of course, she also mentioned that he stopped doing the recovery program and went to Vegas in the middle of a bender and got murdered.
Oh, Jesus.
I didn't pay any attention to really that
Yeah.
part. I said, oh, cool. So I heard a message of recovery there, but I also started dating a woman who I'd been attracted to for a long time. And I was attracted to Midge, but she didn't want to have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
So I asked her out, as a matter of fact, and she said, nope. So, okay. But there's this other gal, and we dated a little bit, and started dating at the end of '97. And she wouldn't drink with me. Damn her. I knew she was a drinker, but she wouldn't drink. So all of a sudden, January of 1998, she disappears for 2.5 months. And I'm like, what the hell? So I finally get an actual snail mail letter from her saying, hi, you probably wonder where I am, but yeah, I'm in rehab up in Washington or someplace like that, in the Northwest. And yeah, I guess she was a hardcore cocaine and alcohol addict.
Oh, and you didn't know?
Because she wouldn't drink with me. I said, well, why wouldn't you drink with me? I was always trying to get you to drink with me. And she said, because once I have one, I can't stop.
Oh.
Answer myself in front of you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Like, it's like, didn't you know that I wanted to make an ass of myself in front of you too?
Exactly.
We could have done it together.
Is drunken sex. At least that's what I thought back then. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
But I guess she would be using cocaine. I didn't know anything about it. I still don't. I'm just a pure alcoholic. I didn't ever get into help.
Oh.
I mean, I think I would recognize if you were snorting cocaine in front of me. I would recognize what's going on because I've seen movies.
Right.
But I don't remember her going to the bathroom often, but I bet she did. I'm looking.
So you never done drugs then?
I tried weed maybe 8 times in my life, 5, 7 times, not very often. Smoked cigarettes even less than that.
Interesting. So that's cool. Yeah. That's really neat.
It's rare, I know.
Yeah, it is rare.
Any kind of recovery program.
Yeah, that's cool. So you met 2 girls.
Anyway, and this other woman, the second woman, went off to rehab, and she came back, and she was sober, and I was like, wow, I like that a lot, right? And she basically explained, I'm in now, that you are too. Mm-hmm. And she explained it to me, how it all works and what the concept was behind it. And I said, that sounds great, but you're going to fucking make me quit drinking, right?
Yeah.
And she said, no, I'm not going to make you do anything but be around
For myself.
Oh, Dave,
Oh,
your micro.
I got a call coming in for somebody. Let me kill it.
Okay.
Hey, can you get rid of this at the same time? Let me talk about-
Dave.
You there?
Yep.
Holy shit! I don't know how that worked. Hang on a second.
Well, your quality sounds better.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm on speakerphone now.
Yeah, it sounds great.
can you hear me now?
Yep.
Is that better or about? I'm back on my earpiece. Is it about the same?
I think the speaker was better.
Oh well, that's shit, dude. You tell me. You're the
Yeah.
technical. You're the engineer on this.
I'll say let's do the speaker.
All right. That was my sponsee calling. So.
Oh.
All right. Hang on. I'll turn off the headset.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, that's drastically better.
Well, holy shit. Okay.
So
Then just to fix it.
let's just start from the very beginning again. Yeah. So okay, so you were talking to the girl who just gotten out of rehab.
Now recovery
Uh-oh.
was working, and I said, "Well, that appeals to me." The only part I don't is that you are not drinking, so I would drink moderately.
Oh,
well,
Dave.
If you could that way,
Dave.
that would be.
It's cutting out. I think it might be like the Wi-Fi or something. It's a signal thing.
Okay, hang on a sec. Yeah, let's hang up and try it again because my phone's freaking out.
Okay. Okay, I'll call you back.
Bye.